fifth and final set, Love All Play. Hi friends, this is your host Vijay Gokhale back again with your tennis show, Game, Set and Match, Pune. Firstly, a big thanks to all of you for endorsing my show. And do remember to press the like icon if you like the show. Friends, on this final episode of this podcast series, I have the honor to welcome a tennis personality who has seen it all, done it all. A national champion, represented India from 1970 onwards in different formats. He has won a silver medal in 1982 Asiad, coached the Indian Davis Cup team and the Federation Cup team. He is a Dhyan Chand Award winner, one and only Nandan Bal. Many thanks for sparing your precious time to come to our show and talking to us. I'm really grateful, sir. Please tell us, how did it all start? As it in 1980s or 70s, it was not easy for anyone to take tennis as a career, and you decided. How did you take that risk?
Yeah, so first of all, I've always said that any sport that you take up, it really shouldn't be because you want to make a career in it. I think you need to take a sport up because you want to enjoy being in that sport.
Correct.
So for me, the choice was made very simple because early 70s, and I'm talking maybe 71 or 72, my father was actually posted through the Life Insurance Corporation. He was posted in Parbhani, which was more or less a non-family station. And the only choice to visit him was in our summer holidays, and which was also mango eating season. And so, so basically my father said, look, I mean, there has to be some sort of a balance between calories taken and calories thrown out. So essentially he said, listen, I go to play tennis. There was an officers club. I go to play tennis. Why don't you come with me? And that's how the whole thing started. It's simple as that.
Good. So you had some motivation. You've been playing tennis for last 4 decades plus or so. Your thoughts on how has the game evolved over the years?
Yeah, so straight away, any sport always evolves through various stages. So if you actually take the sport of tennis, and if you look at, say, your 1950s, where you had big hitters of the ball, and you had guys like Jack Kramer, and you had Don Budge, and you had Big Bill Tilden. In fact, Big Bill Tilden was called Big simply because if he was serving for a match, and if we go a little technical and say, he's serving for the match at 5-4, he would actually hold 4 balls in his hands because he had big hands, and he would just hit 4 aces. And that's how that was the game. You served big, you hit big, so matches were short. Now, when that happened, the spectators were not getting enough out of the sport. And so if you look at the 70s or 80s, or actually the 80s or 90s, when you had a Pete Sampras playing, say, an Ivanisevic, and you had a Wimbledon final which went almost 3.5 hours, actual playing time, 17 minutes. Because all they did was move from one side or the other, either hitting aces or, at the receiving end of aces. So simply put, then the association, whether it was the ATP or the ITF, decided that they need to make the game slow so the spectators can get something out. So your next stage and next evolvement came where the courts were made very slow, the balls were made heavier.
Okay.
And then all you saw was guys like Vilas and Wilander who would play 6-hour matches, 8-hour matches, and nobody was taking a chance because they didn't want to miss. And they knew that if they missed, they were going to lose the match because the other guy was not going to miss. So you had that next stage where from over-aggression, you went to, you actually went to complete defensive. Then when you got into the 2000s and you had Henman and then you had Federer and of course Becker and all these guys who came later, they started serve volleying. They started coming into the net more often. The courts were then kind of, especially the hard courts, were made medium fast because nobody then wanted to watch the defensive play. So you actually had a stage where then, on a medium fast court, you normally had one guy on his serve being very aggressive and the other guy being very defensive. because when he was returning.
So the aggression was attractive.
So on one side of the court you could see aggression, on one side of the court you could see the defense. So that was the next stage. And now if you look at the modern day tennis player, say in the last 5 years or 8 years, now that the big 3 or 4 that the Nadals and Federers are almost on their way out, we are actually seeing a lot of guys now counter punching.
Okay.
So whether it's your serve, whether it's your return, everybody is standing on the baseline and just counter punching. Similar to what, say, an Andre Agassi did in the 90s and 2000s, or maybe even a Chang for that matter. Chang really was short, but he wasn't defensive. He would counter punch. And that's the kind of tennis you're seeing. So that's the kind of evolvement that you've seen. And I'm sure that if you go into every sport, you're going to see that kind of evolvement.
Yes, the change is constant.
Yes, absolutely.
Constant.
Absolutely.
Okay. You have been the privilege of playing with all greats of your time, namely Amritraj brothers, Ramesh Krishnan. Who do you think was a harder nut to crack as an opponent, with due respect?
Yeah, well, I mean, you had to respect all of them.
Yeah, but they're legends.
So when you actually ask me whether it was R. Krishnan, so you have two R. Krishnans there, Ramanathan and Ramesh. But Ramanathan, of course, fortunately for us, was in a different era. So we really didn't have to worry about him. Thank God for that. But I would say Ramesh was a far tougher nut to crack. And simply because Vijay Anand or even the Ashok, who was their brother, would actually give you free points. They would make mistakes. They would miss a ball or two. They would miss some volleys. They would hit some short balls which you could take advantage of. No, nothing like that with Ramesh. Every ball that Ramesh hit was almost on the baseline, or it was very sharp. So there was really nothing you could do to really, crack him. So unless you were playing him on a lightning fast court, that was somebody you didn't want to play. Ramesh really was somebody you didn't want to play.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As the modern tennis has evolved, nowadays you see there is a great requirement of support staff, allied infrastructure for making a sports person successful or a tennis player successful. What do you think? Where are we placed as a city or as a country? And is there a need to do more? And where is it?
Yeah. So I think. If you actually, it's a funny question because as a city, I think we are comfortably placed. We have a fabulous stadium, 4,000 odd stadium, pretty much state of the art. We have ample number of clubs which have a lot of tennis courts in each one of them, and they are quite proactive in promoting junior tennis. Promoting junior tennis. So the infrastructure is there. So if you look at one club where we have 7 or 8 hard courts, we have another place not even 10 minutes away which has 7 clay courts. Then you actually have the government Balewadi Center which is 7 or 8 hard courts again. So like I said, the infrastructural facilities are all there. Now what's the other thing? The other thing that you require is obviously the finance. Because at the end of the day,
I was coming to it.
At the end of the day, you still need a lot of money because tennis can't be played in just one center. You need to travel the world, and it's a global sport. So you need to travel the globe too, and there is no guarantee that you are going to end up a winner. So you could be investing your time, your effort, your money from the age of 16 up to say the age of 20, 21 or even 23 or 24. And you would probably require I don't want to push people off from the sport, but you're looking at an investment of 1 crore plus or maybe 2 crores over those 8 years. And at the end of those 8 years, it's not like you're getting a 10% dividend on that. So you could be at zero.
That's quite a amount.
It's a huge amount. So that could be zero. Or if you make it big, it could be 100-fold. So those are the risks that you would need to take. So at the end of the day, you need a coach who's honest with you and who says that, yes, I think you have the potential to be there, and who would give you the correct advice on whether you need there. Unfortunately, today's coaches are not teaching tennis because they want to help the kid improve, but because for them, it's only a job. So they are getting their salary, and when somebody's getting a salary, they're not too worried about whether the guy on the other side has the potential or not. No, my job is just to teach him tennis. So you need.
I get it.
So
that's
you need
catch to it.
Yeah. So you need coaches who are very true to their profession and who will give you a real picture. That is one. But then, like I said, and then so your infrastructure is important, which is there available. You have access to all kinds of information today in terms of your biomechanics and in terms of your fitness and nutritional requirements. All of that is there. Your infrastructure is there. The availability of international equipment, balls, rackets, whatever you may need, is all there. So the two big ifs are: one, the kid's talent and potential; two, the finances required; and I think three, which is maybe 5%, but it's important, and that's your luck factor.
Yeah, man.
So
after all, it does finally depend on.
Yeah, I mean,
do you have it in you?
Do you have it in you? And also, like I said, you may have all of it, but at match point, if you hit a ball 2 centimeters out, it's still out. And that's the difference between winning and losing, so that is big. So like I said, the finance is a big if.
So related to the previous question, as you explained, as a tennis expert, where do you think a government and private collaboration would come handy in making the sport more popular and more affordable, to be more precise?
Yeah. So first of all, the key, like you said, is affordable. That if you can make it affordable, then half the battle is won, because then you get the numbers in. And that has to be at the level of your schools, whether it is through the government municipal schools or through the private schools. The private schools don't normally have a issue with the financing because it's all done individually by parents.
Correct.
But for the municipal schools, I think it is very crucial for the municipal corporation or the Zilla Parishad or the state government to actually pump in money. And I'm not saying necessarily for tennis, but I'm saying for sport. Because sport is something that's not just going to help, it builds character.
It brings the personality of an individual.
It brings out the best in you. It builds up your character, your personality. So it's very crucial that the government invests in it. I'm not saying put money into it. I'm saying invest in it.
That's
because
yes,
it is an investment. And so I think when it comes to private funding, when it comes to corporate funding or private funding, that has to be. I mean, every association of every sport, I am sure, is trying to push their sport forward. Unfortunately, we have one sport which is God. And almost every corporate looks at it and compares other sports to that. I don't see anything wrong with that, because I think if you look at if you look at cricket, and we'll talk specifically about cricket, I think it's an extremely well-run, professionally managed association, and so they're getting the results. And let's face it, you have your top cricketers in the country who are also the top cricketers in the world.
Precisely.
So they are icons. And so a little kid, when he, on one side, if he sees a XYZ who's number one in the world in his sport, which says cricket, and on the other hand, you have let's just say tennis. And the best you have right now is maybe top 50 in the world in doubles. So that,
comparative motivation for that kid.
So the kid is going to want to come to cricket as opposed to tennis. So we need to be able to put in those icons, get these guys to, be up there and take it from there. Now, also, that being said, if you look at, I'm saying this a little freely, but, and frankly, and brutally, frankly, if you look at a Neeraj Chopra, I think for a corporate sector, there is less investment in producing a Neeraj Chopra than there is in producing a tennis player. So if I have to look at investing 25 lakhs a year per kid in tennis, I don't think a budding javelin thrower or a shot putter or an athlete needs that kind of funding. So it is, for me, if I look at it and say, I need 5 or 6 lakhs or maybe 10 lakhs to produce a javelin thrower who's world class. Then why am I spending 3 times that amount of money on somebody for 8 years and with no guarantee that there is a result at the end? So that also plays a big role. So it's not necessary that corporates may want to do it, but their financial advisors may say, okay, look, these are the comparisons. So somewhere, I think at this point in time, apart from cricket, almost all of the sports are being financed by people or corporates where the top notch people in those corporates are interested in that sport. Not because they're getting anything out of it. So that's how it is. And unless we change that, it's going to remain that. I think to a large extent it's being changed in badminton because now we have icons in badminton. You have Saina, you had, PV Sindhu, you had a bunch of guys who are doing well. You had Gopi Chand earlier. So, so that is changing and you can see it. You can see the interest in the sport develop.
Precisely. Okay, so next, you've been coaching for some time now. Tell us something about the coaching schemes available in the city and tell us something about the new budding stars whom we should be expecting on the circuit.
Shine on circuit. Well, it's I'm actually very at the risk of actually hurting my own scheme. I'm actually going ahead and saying that if you're a 7-year-old child or 8-year-old child, you don't necessarily need to be taught by Nandan Bal. For that level, you can go to your tennis court, which is in your society, and the local marker will do a good job of training you simply because we now actually have the International Tennis Federation's coaching systems, which are available even to the local marker.
Okay.
So you basically need to get to a certain level before you would come to a Nandan Bal or you would go to the other good coaches in the city. But that being said, I think Pune especially has at least 6 or 7 schemes where you can learn good tennis. There's a whole bunch of kids who have come through the ranks. I mean, starting from Nitin Kirtane, 20, 30 years ago, Rohan Bopana himself trained here for 4 or 5 years with us. So you had Rohan, you had Nitin Kirtane. After that, you actually had somebody like a Ranjit Shinde, who not too many people have heard of. But I think he had the potential to be in the top 100. But things didn't work out and, he migrated and so on and so forth, whatever the reasons. So Pune has produced a huge amount of champions. Sandeep Kirtane, Nitin Kirtane, Gaurav Natikar, Radhika Turpade. There have just been so many. Every year we are doing so. And even if you come down to what is happening now, you still have your Ankita Raina and Rutuja Bhosle, and then you have Arjun Kade, who now is doing well. And if I've missed somebody, sorry about that. But so there's just
the list
a lot.
Is a lot.
It's a substantial list, and so
you can't ignore the contribution.
Exactly. So that is big. Stars for the future, bunch of them once again, because like I said, these local kids have these icons in front of them. So the kids playing in a certain scheme would have an Ankita Raina to look forward to. For somebody who's in some other kid, maybe there's somebody there who's a national champion and they can look forward to. So you have people like Ruma Gaikavari, 16-year-old kid doing really well. You have Vaishnavi Adkar. These are just names that
some of them.
Yeah, some of them. There must be a bunch of names even in the boys section, which unfortunately I can't think of right now.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Mahesh Bhupati, Leander Pace, the great Indian tennis pair. They've played a lot of tennis when you were coach of the Indian Davis Cup team. Tell us, how did you handle these high-profile stars?
So,
without any contribution.
No. I think the gentleman who made this movie Dangal actually made a serial on the two of them, and he also did what is it, Breakpoint? Yeah, I think it was called Breakpoint. And I think my role in the Davis Cup and Asian Games came through very clearly on that. But yes, I think. Yes, I was the coach for the team for almost 13 years, from 2000 to maybe 2013 or 14, something like that. 13 years I was the coach, and it's huge
number.
Yeah,
that's quite huge. A number.
And worked very closely with Mahesh and Leander. And I know there were differences between the two of them. That's been chronicled and that's been spoken about by the press and on TV and all that. But that being said, I actually worked with them only during Davis Cup. And for me, that was the easiest thing to do. Because both of them, whatever the differences were off the court. When they came in to play a Davis Cup match, they were as committed to winning for India
That's what matters.
Yeah. So for me,
actually.
my job was very easy.
So
I may have had
high.
to, I may have had to deal with the egos and issues off the court. But when it came to on the court, I've never ever had issues. Never.
That's really
Yeah.
great to hear.
Yeah.
That's great to hear. You have coached the Indian Davis Cup team as well as the Federation Cup teams of India. Which was easier to handle?
See, I think as far as Davis Cup, Fed Cup, or all these big team events where your top players are playing, I don't think there's much to teach by way of, say, any kind of technical knowledge. Or so what you're looking for is maybe a little bit of tactical knowledge, in the sense that you scout your opponents and say, okay, I think you need to work with this. But even there, all these guys are playing each other on tour all the time, so they know they're tactical. So where does your skill as a coach come in? I think the skill comes in man management.
Okay.
If you're good at man management, I think half your work is done. More than half your work is done. And you ask me what is easier to handle. I don't think there's an easy or difficult. And the simple reason for that is that whether it's Davis Cup or Fed Cup for women's, I think all players have huge egos.
Okay.
And I don't mean it in a bad way. See, if tennis is an individual sport, so I'm alone on a court and I'm taking all the decisions on that court and I'm coming out a winner, I'm going to have an ego.
Yes.
Because I'm so supremely confident of myself.
I would say it's human nature.
It's human nature. It's human nature. And that's
how it is.
That's how it is. So if you can learn to, manage that, I think you're in good shape. So basically, if you can,
Understood. Yeah, absolutely.
And like I said, when I speak about big egos, I don't mean it in a bad way. Because if you don't have a big ego,
you may not be there.
You will not be there.
That's the way I look at it.
Yes, because you're then not sure of yourself.
All right.
Yeah.
Majority of your life, you've been associated with the game, and your thoughts on receiving the great Dhyan Chand Award at Delhi.
Yeah, so...
and I was there when you got it.
Yeah, so I think it's a, what do you call it? It's a recognition for what you've done for the sport. And, a lot of people actually, when I got it, told me that I got it too late. But for me, that's fine. I mean, the fact that the government and your peers recognized you, whether it was 20 years back or it was now, it really doesn't matter. But it was a recognition. It was good. As what they said, Dhyan Chand Award for lifetime services. I just hope they don't think that I'm going to stop. because I got the award. But yeah, that's what I think. It's recognition, and it's great to have received it.
Great. Lastly, a word for the budding tennis stars of tomorrow from you.
Just put your head down and work. It's as simple as that. Because you're never going to succeed if you are always thinking of winning. You are only going to succeed if you go through the correct process that is required to win. So think about the process. Think about mini goals, medium-sized goals, high goals, and take it one step by step. But keep working hard. Keep putting your head down. Don't let losses put your shoulders down. Don't let them slump your shoulders.
Friends, not easy to do, but don't forget what he said. Sir, many thanks for being on the show and encouraging all of us. I wish you all the very best in all your endeavors, and a big thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you so much.
With this, it is time to end this episode as well as the podcast series on tennis. It has been a great, fun-filled learning experience for me. May I request you all to share your thoughts for future improvement. I wish you all the very best. A big thanks and stay safe.